Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and I'm delighted today to be joined by JJ Ball.
Hello.
All right?
Yes.
Yeah. John Mackenzie.
Vast there.
Yes, well, that's of course.
Yes, shiver me timbers.
Now, I wonder if the listeners will be able to guess what the theme of today's episode was. That wasn't very good, was it? And also, data scientist Mark Carey.
Hello.
Hey, Mark, how's it going?
Very well.
Yeah,
Very well.
You learned a lot about Plymouth today.
More than I cared to imagine. We didn't even mention pasties as well, on what Plymouth's famous for.
Is that what Plymouth's famous for? Pasties?
Cornish pasties.
Is Plymouth
Plymouth
in Cornwall?
isn't in Cornwall.
Don't
Yeah,
think
hang
Plymouth-
on a minute.
Is Plymouth in Cornwall?
I'm not sure about this.
Let's just double
I think we're
check.
stumbling into trouble here.
Is Plymouth
Okay,
in
but
Cornwall?
we still didn't mention pasties.
Plymouth
We
is
didn't
in
know.
the port
true.
city of Devon.
Okay.
Is a port city in Devon. Oh,
But
God,
the point,
even I've done
the
that.
point still remains that we didn't mention pasties.
We didn't mention pasties.
And now,
to be
do you
fair.
know what they do say down in Cornwall and Devon way?
Cream tea.
It's about the cream tea, and I am going to
You're
talk
going to
about
talk
the
about cream tea. I
Now,
knew it. I knew it.
Because, of course, wherever I go, I gather to me facts about how to gain weight. And in Cornwall and Devon, of course, it's with the cream tea.
It's eating, yeah.
It's eating.
yeah.
Everywhere you go, it's eating. Occasionally it's sort of putting stuff on yourself, but mostly it's just eating. Because of gain weight, if I were to layer myself with meat on the outside of the body and stand on some scales, I'd still be heavy. A little known fact there. But I could shed it more easily. Now, listen, in Cornwall and Devon, of course, we all know, international listeners might not know what a cream tea is. A scone, a scone.
Oh, you a scone man?
I say scone, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, it starts off as a scone, but once you eat it, it's gone.
There
I
you
think
go.
some Americans refer to that as a biscuit.
A biscuit, okay.
I just got Mark's joke. It's good.
He's getting some claps.
Yeah.
Congratulations, well done, Mark. That was the funniest thing you said
Thank
all
you.
day.
Thank you very much.
And it may continue to be as you go through the rest of it.
Thank you very much.
Now, listen, it's a biscuit or a scone or a scone, and then there's a very thick double cream and then some jam, right? And the order of events in which you place one on top of t'other is of great discord down in the southwest of England. The Devonshire people say jam first and then cream, I think. And then the Cornish people say cream first and then jam. I can't remember which way round they say it. I like cream first and then jam. And as I've got to the end of this, I realise it just wasn't worth saying any of it, was it?
This is a football podcast you're listening to.
Oh, that's
in your
true.
car or wherever you are.
Wait, I do think there's an interesting point, isn't there? Because it's about what hits your tongue first, right?
Your tongue.
He said tongue.
He said tongue. He did say tongue.
Do you say tongue normally?
Yeah.
Tongui.
Tongue. Is it because it's spelt like that?
I
Tongue.
don't know. Just that's how I say it.
People say it with a U usually, don't they? Tongue.
Yeah, that would be a way of doing it if you wanted to do it
Tongue.
wrongly.
Can you say it? Mark?
Tongue.
Tongue.
Tongue, I'd say.
Tongue?
I said tongue, yeah.
Tongue?
Tongue.
I never noticed John saying tongue. That
Tongue.
often.
I've heard him say tongue before.
Have you?
Yeah. He says tongue.
I say boss.
Did you
as
say Devon clotted cream first and then jam?
I
and then
did.
Cornwall jam, then cream?
No, the other way around.
Okay, so that's the way around. Devon is your cream first, then your jam.
Then I'm a Devonshire man. I am
Devon.
through and through from Plymouth. Anyway, you'll learn loads more about Plymouth on today's episode, as well as you will learn about pirates. Do pirates come from Plymouth? All of them? Maybe? Yes or no? We will find out. Also, Liverpool. They've had a mixed time in domestic cups of late, and we spoke again about Plymouth. There was a lot about Plymouth there. And then we talked about player-team versatility. Is it good or bad? We learned about Nottingham Forest and a couple of other teams there that have a real good in-game tactical treats. And then we talked about Plymouth again and some pirates. Learned about pirates there. It was a fascinating story later on about one specific pirate from JJ. It was a real pirate as well. It wasn't even a pretend, imagined pirate, as you might think, given that it was JJ that said it. But no, it was a real pirate.
It was based on a pretend pirate.
It was
though.
based on a real... No, it was a real
The other way
pirate.
around.
A pretend pirate based on a real pirate. Yeah?
No, it was the other way around. Jack Sparrow was first, and then they had to invent someone to fit the narrative.
This is getting very meta historical here, isn't it? We
He
also...
was from Kent, not even from Plymouth.
Mark fired up his predictatron machine for Real Madrid versus Manchester City, and he used it in Points Are Bad as well. That was a very exciting moment when Mark allowed the robots to choose for him.
Is that spirit of the game?
I
Does
would
that
say
fit in?
it's the spirit of the future of the game.
Okay.
When Points Are Bad in 1,000 years' time will just be machines playing each other, you know. But they'll be having fun every time. Will they understand the purpose of it? No. Also, we played the Midway Game this weekend. Let me tell you. I'm not going to say, but something happened. Something pretty serious happened, you know. That's all. That's everything on the docket.
Very quick live show plug.
Oh,
End brackets.
V quick.
V quick.
V quick. Come see us live. End brackets. Now, I know Steve Hankey's just told me that we're in a bit of a rush today, but I'm going to add something into the schedule just as he's taking things out, simply because I hate him and I think it'll be funny. Now, it's a fun game, Mark Carey. I want to see how well you play it. Don't look at my computer. You'll see the answers here. I already told you that the first time round we did this.
This time I'm closing my eyes.
Thank you very much. Now, I don't know if listeners know, but we have a channel called Tifo Sports where we make all beautiful illustrated videos about sports other than soccer. Yeah, we do loads of other sports other than soccer, and it's really, really fun. And what I have in front of me is a fantastic sporting moments calendar. So I figured I could ask you guys, give you the names of some of these sporting events and for you to identify the sport. Yeah? Do you enjoy this game?
I think this is a good game.
I think this is going to be a fun game. Now, it's February, of course. We all know that. I hope. Yes, nodding all around the room. Great. The Six Nations. Here's an easy one to start with. Six Nations.
That's rugby. I know that one.
That is rugby. Well done, JJ.
Formerly 5 nations.
That's right.
Formerly
Scotland won
4
that.
nations.
Formerly 4 nations.
Formerly 3 nations.
I don't think it was ever the Three Nations.
There was never the 1 nation.
No.
That would be a poor concept.
Communist! What about this one? The World Indoor Championships. Now, what could that be? That's in March, the 21st to the 22nd of March. This year, it's in Nanjing.
Surely this could be anything.
It could be anything. That's why I've selected it. What do
Surely
you
there's
think it
many
is?
World Indoor Championships.
Mark, what do you think that could be?
I was going to say swimming, but that's rarely outdoors.
Oh, there's quite a lot of outdoor swimming.
Okay.
Because
Swimming.
remember the sea?
Oh, true.
Yeah. Okay, we've got swimming. What do you think?
There's no swimming outdoor swimming tournament, is there?
are. Yeah,
Triathlon involved?
Yeah,
That's
triathlon.
Yeah, but that's
Correct
not. It
answer.
wouldn't be called the World Indoors if it was like distinguishing it from outdoors.
No, I mean, listen, we all know
I'm
Mark
going to go
Carey's
with
answer was
Crown
stupid.
Green Bowls.
I admitted
Bowls?
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think there'd be lots of sports, isn't it? It'd be like lots of the ones, like cycling and table tennis.
And what's it called when you put them all together?
Indoor championships.
That is true. It's athletics. Athletics,
Yeah.
that one was. Okay, how about this one? What about the Internazionale BNL d'Italia?
Cycling.
Oh, a good guess, but it's not cycling.
Chess.
No, not chess. Also, quite a good guess though. And in terms of the dynamic of the game, not dissimilar to chess. Much more similar to chess than cycling.
I'm guessing from the way you read it, it sounds Italian, and so therefore it's likely to be held within a coliseum and is probably a group of men fighting to the death against animals that they've imported from foreign countries.
That's right. It is tennis.
Gladiator.
It's tennis. Well done. Now, don't worry, Steve Hankey. There's just one more here. Here's a fun one, a bit easy again. It's all the way back there in June. It's the Stanley Cup final. Do we know which sport the
That's
Stanley
ice
Cup
hockey.
final?
Ice hockey.
It is ice hockey. Although I'm informed by my American colleagues that you're just to call it hockey. And when I tell them that there's other kinds of hockey,
That's
they
field hockey.
get very upset. Yeah. Did you know that field hockey has more fans than ice hockey? Americans don't like that, but it's true. So you can use that one yourself. Yeah. How about this? The Tokyo Series in March. There's a clue in the name there.
I think I know this.
Uh-huh. Go for it.
Baseball.
It is baseball. Well done. Do you know, I wasn't expecting them to do as well as they did, Steve Hankey, but they did quite well, didn't they?
It did.
Yeah.
I didn't
Excellent.
even try any silly answers.
No. Well, that's because you were engrossed in the competitive nature of the game.
That's true.
Yeah. Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Plymouth won. 0 Liverpool. Good Lord. 0 Liverpool. An upset for the ages now. Bottom of the championship, Plymouth Argyle, shocked Liverpool, didn't they? They shocked them and the rest of the world by beating them in a game of football. I mean, Liverpool were heavily rotated. Of course, we know this. Mark Carey, I assume, as a fan, you watched this game. Were you bitterly disappointed, Mark?
I actually didn't watch this game.
Oh,
I
good
was
Lord.
travelling. For those interested, I was in Milan this weekend.
Oh, what were you doing?
Didn't manage to get to a game. It was for my partner's birthday. So managed to have a lovely time until I checked the scores and saw that Liverpool had lost 1-0.
Right.
It was, heavily rotated. I think there were a lot of players also sort of playing out of position as well. I think that James McConnell, who's a young, bright talent who normally plays in midfield, I think started at right back.
Yeah.
Endo had to, I think he started in midfield, but had to come into centre of defence because of injury. You can look at Liverpool's squad and think about how strong their depth is, but when you have that many changes in one go, then it's almost a void point. Do you know what I mean? Because
Okay.
if you think about the players that can come on, yes, that Liverpool have a really strong bench and a really strong squad, but just the fact that none of those players I don't think it ever played in a competitive match at the same time. I think it mitigates things a little bit. That being said, they should still be at the bottom of the table in the Championship. Plymouth Argyle, disappointing. But I think in a net positive, if I'm going to spin a positive as a Liverpool fan, that they lost the battle to win the bigger war, which is the Premier League and the Champions League.
Well, also, I was
Cliché.
going to say, this weekend was the first weekend where I felt the broadcasters were really, and I feel sorry for them because they kind of have to do this. It's their job. They were forced to acknowledge the possibility of a quadruple. And in some ways, I'm very grateful and thankful to Liverpool for really rooting that one out, the first possible sign of that being talked about. I did not want to spend the rest of the season talking about something I knew wasn't going to happen. So well done to everyone involved. I mean, my question to you, Mark, was going to be about squad strength, because people talk about Liverpool very favourably in this regard. What you're saying, though, it seems to be, is that if you just throw a bunch of players in together, it's not really a good way of measuring squad strength.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, the guys will be able to cover this as well in terms of just how unlikely it is that you're going to get any kind of rhythm, any kind of real tactical upside from playing a team that has maybe played once together on a training pitch at the same time. So I think when people talk about strength in depth, it's being able to bring players off the bench and being able to make a couple of changes between games and having that sort of strength, which is, for Liverpool, their forward line, the strength and depth that they have is super strong. In fact, to be honest, across the pitch in general, but putting everyone together all in one go isn't necessarily going to have that same upside, I think, as well. It's not really tactical, but the fact that they played on Thursday and maybe were riding the high of getting to the final of the League Cup, there may be something there that they just didn't really want to go to the bottom end of the country and play against a side who, granted, is struggling in the league, but it's sort of all geared towards maybe a potential upset as well. So, yeah, I may be trying to justify it and think of excuses for Liverpool's performance, but I don't think it detracts from the fact that they do still have strength in depth as a squad, but just chucking everyone together all at once is, at any level, is not going to necessarily have too many positives.
Well, they probably wouldn't have wanted the fixture congestion anyway, John, right? They've got the League Cup final coming in March, where they play Newcastle, I think. But this is a hell of a lot of games for the second half of the season if they're going to continue in the FA Cup, right?
Yeah, I mean, it simplifies things down, right? And there's positives that come with that, despite the fact that it's within the context of a negative situation. But I think, a big part of why Liverpool have done so well this season is in part due to the ability to manage the squad fitness-wise. There's been the piece by Andy Jones on the Athletic website talking about how Arne Slot has a really good record of injury prevention. So do check that out. But so much of, I think it's so easy for us to fall into the trap of just thinking of football as you play, you get your players out on the pitch for each of the games and you try and get them in the best place for each of those games. But there's an aggregative quality there, right? You're not just, as the season goes on, your player dynamics improve. Your players understand what their coach wants them to do, but also find ways of being able to affect that on the pitch. And when you just rotate your team heavily, you end up just removing all of that aspect, and you're basically starting from scratch again, being like, the tactics are going to be the same, but there's no saying that the dynamics between the players are going to be at the same kind of level. Not least the fact that you're also putting in players who are going to be of a lower quality than the players that you're usually playing there. So, I think people underestimate how much of a destabilising influence that kind of rotation can be. And then you add in other things, Mark's already mentioned the long journey down to Plymouth. You're playing in a stadium which is very different to the kind of stadiums that you're playing in normally, and the pitches are different. And
it's in Plymouth.
It's in Plymouth.
That's one of the differences.
One of the differences.
What are the others?
Well, if
number
you look,
of people from Plymouth.
I mean, I think you're really focusing on the important
as though
aspects.
it was the weather in Plymouth.
No, but I think if you're a Premier League player who's playing in the Champions League, you're used to playing at big stadiums.
Yeah, you don't want to go to tiny. Plymouth. That's what you're really getting at, isn't it?
That's
one. Plymouth.
That is one way of representing what I'm saying. That's not my intention, but
did you know Plymouth is a port city?
It is, yeah.
Don't the pirates come from Plymouth?
Pirates?
Pilgrims.
Well,
pilgrims.
Do all pirates come from Plymouth?
I think they do, yeah.
Good Lord, I did. Does Jack Sparrow know this?
He would, because he's from there.
He does have a sort of Plymouthy accent, doesn't
Is Jack Sparrow from Plymouth?
I'd say so. Just based on what the conversation JJ and I just had, I think that is the case. Did you know that Plymouth's history extends back to the Bronze Age, John?
Yes.
Jack
Yeah?
Sparrow's from Kent.
Oh,
Because he's not from Plymouth, he's from Kent.
that's the other side of the country, isn't
You're
it?
arguing with
Yeah.
yourself. You're the one who said he was from Plymouth.
Rachel just gave a cheer to Kent. It's the first time I've ever heard anyone cheer for Kent. The Garden of England, huh? I do love the darling buds of May.
When you
though.
say he's from Kent, you mean like the fictional character Jack Sparrow? Is that what we're talking
If you
about?
think he's fictional, sure.
Just going off what the
The character was
Wikipedia
based
told
on the
me.
real-life pirate John Ward.
Oh,
Real-life pirate. It's a good name for a band. I'll write that one down.
that's pretty exciting. Hey, did you know that Plymouth's twin city in France is Brest? Did you know that?
It's good.
It's nice, isn't it? And also, now this one's a bit more straightforward to see why. Plymouth, Massachusetts. They've just gone for a twin. of
Straight down the
same
line with that one.
straight name. And Jiangxing in China.
On Wikipedia, it has John Ward's or whoever the Sparrow was based on. It has his wealth written down as between 500,000 and £2 million.
So
It's pretty
I was
lucrative
just looking
pirating
for-
then.
Pirating is
Wait,
lucrative.
£500,000 back
Yeah,
in the day.
That's his wealth.
Is
apparently.
that an up to date wealth, or is that his wealth of the time?
I don't know that bit, but I think yes, it would just be what he earned or how much he had at the time.
Right.
Presumably in gold coins that he kept
Doubloons.
in a treasure chest
Yeah.
Now let me tell
that
you
he
this.
found while searching for treasure.
I know we're having doubloon fun, pirate style, but if we really want to talk about sailors that have come from Plymouth, did you know, JJ, that the real Sir Francis Drake, who was the first English person to circumnavigate the world, came
The
from
real
Plymouth?
Sir Francis.
The real, yeah. Incredible. Now, I'm not looking at Steve Hankey, but I can feel his eyes boring a hole into the side of my head. And I do want to keep talking about Liverpool, because who wouldn't? Who would want to, carry on talking about
Charles
Plymouth?
Dance is from Plymouth.
Charles Dance is from Plymouth.
Yeah. Tom
Good
Daly.
Lord.
Wayne Sleep.
Anyway, they've made it to the final of the FA Cup. No, the League Cup. Who am I? What were we saying? Oh, they did. We didn't talk about how they thrashed Spurs, right? That was last weekend. That was last midweek. Am I correct?
That was, yeah, in the
great.
cup, yeah.
Great stuff. I was just looking at after getting 3 things wrong in a row. I was just hoping to see you nodding vigorously. yeah, that one's right, Joe.
And you can trust me for these things.
That one's right. I did hear, JJ, most people say Spurs were very, very bad, but I heard one person say Liverpool were just excellent in that game. Did you see it?
I think I saw the first half of it, and then I can't remember why I stopped watching it,
It
but
was
I
a
did.
foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Well, it's funny with Liverpool this season is that it feels very much like it's not exciting that they're going to win the league because I don't know what it is. It's not like it just seems less like people care about it. I don't know why, because they're just so good, but it feels almost routine when they beat teams. And against Plymouth, it was weird. I had this sort of
Plymouth, you say?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, do you know who's from Plymouth? No. One of the things I was thinking, it feels inevitable that they'll just walk their way through it. But I was like, I know from my time playing the game Football Manager that these are the exact games that those teams who win and walk through every other team, they lose when they change and put all the kids on.
Yeah.
So I sort of had a feeling it might happen. And I was thinking, is the only way for these lower teams to beat the big teams to do exactly what Plymouth did? And I think it probably is, isn't it?
You'd score more goals than the other team.
That's one of the crucial components of the win. But the method by way of doing that, you have the big lads, you get it up top, you hold it up when you can. That's how you do it. It's like the magic of the cup, but it's repeatable magic.
Do you like the magic of the cup?
I watched Leyton Orient City, and I thought I really want Leyton Orient to win that because that's fun. And then they don't, and it's like, well, normal stuff is here.
Yeah.
I like the magic of the cup when a team gets all the way to the final and they win it. But remember when Watford played Man City and they got absolutely done?
Sure.
I guess Wigan
But do you
won it
remember
once,
when
didn't they?
Wigan played Man City?
It's like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, was that 2013 or something? It's
Something
a long
like that.
old time since a team outside the Premier League has won a domestic cup, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if it can happen now, can it? I mean, Wigan did do it, I guess, but
That was a wonderful time. I mean, just pick up on the point that JJ was just making there, Mark, about it not feeling particularly exciting this season for Liverpool. Would you, did the fan base concur, would you say?
I think so broadly. I think that it's almost good to kind of make it boring. I think that the last time Liverpool had games where they were dominant and the games, especially towards the end of the game, was boring, was arguably the season that they won the league. In 2019-20, the final 20 minutes for a lot of the games, despite it being so novel to be in a title race, was they were boring. They were just knocking it around, killing the games. They often were winning games by 1 or 2 goals. It wasn't actually that crazy, and it became more chaotic, sort of came full circle. It was more chaotic at the start of Klopp's reign, then towards the end again. But that sort of period in between was those final 20 minutes would just be keeping possession and just making sure that they saw the game out. So
I bet that really helps the mentality of it because they wanted to win it for so long, and then you're like, oh, we can't let this drop now, and they got so far ahead in that COVID season when they won it that they kind of had it, but they're still like, you want it to happen, like you can't believe it's going to happen, it's finally going to happen. But now, because that was quite recent, I guess, you lose a lot of the fear of what if it doesn't happen. It just feels like they are just of that level. Is that part of it?
I think a little bit. The other thing I was going to say on it is that we talk about, injuries and rotations of squad. Like Liverpool have got so many fit players that they're leaving first team players out of the squad because they can't fit them in the Premier League squad. And Slot has mentioned that to say that we'd like to have more players on the bench just to have the opportunity to bring on maybe younger players and give them some minutes towards the end of the game. So managing the game when it's a little bit more calculated means that you're going to get probably fewer injuries as well. But I think they've just, as has been spoken about already, they just seem to be so versatile in being able to do kind of a bit of everything. If you get really tight to them, they can go long. Virgil van Dijk maybe with that diagonal to Mo Salah, which to be honest has been a hallmark of Liverpool for the past few seasons. But either way, they can go direct when they want to and then step off them and they can knock it around, which I know has been a key thing that Slot has tried to instill. Of course, as a data analyst, I'm going to bring some numbers to it as well.
Of course.
That they've had 3.9 direct attacks per 90 Liverpool, and this is a metric that's a proxy of counter-attacking. Now that's the third most in the league, so they are quite direct when they want to be.
Who are they behind?
They are behind Good
Forest.
Question, checks notes, and
I knew he wouldn't have it written down.
filling
That's why I
time.
asked. I'm going to
I'm
guess
ready for
Nottingham
this.
Forest.
You'd have thought, as a data analyst, he would
you
have
would
had
have
this
thought,
to hand,
because you
wouldn't
did say at the
He
beginning
did,
of that sentence that he
I
was
me-
a data
I
I
analyst.
think
meant
if he comes at
That's
the
right.
Kings, he best not miss.
That's right.
Let me turn it around on you guys then. Quiz, who do you think it
Forest.
is?
Forest.
No.
No.
What's the question?
Tottenham
What
will
is
be
the
up there.
question? That's a good. Yeah. What is the
It's
question?
the most direct attacks per 90, average direct attacks per 90.
Bournemouth, Spurs.
Arsenal.
So, as a
Not-
proxy
not
of counter-attacking, this is
Brighton.
winning the ball in your own half
Plymouth.
and getting a
He's
shot
he's
or a
not
touch in the box
responding. That
within
means
15
we're not.
seconds.
Quickly say all of the
Seconds,
teams.
yeah. I would also guess Forest.
Brentford.
Not Forest. It's not Brentford.
Man United.
It's not Spurs.
It's
Wait, Man United don't do any attacking.
Chelsea and Newcastle.
Oh, I was just about to say those
Nice.
teams.
Okay. Well, then.
I thought we'd already
Same
said
page.
those.
Me too.
I thought that was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
But we know that Liverpool can be counter-attacking. But the point I was going to make as well is that they're averaging, and I can do this off the top of my head, 18.7 sequences of 9+ passes per 90. So an indication that they are knocking the ball around for long periods.
Wow.
That's the second most in the league. Behind, for those wondering, Manchester City.
Now, are you saying that as a data scientist, or just are you saying that as a normal person?
I'm saying that as your good friend Mark Carey.
Okay.
Okay. But the point I'm making is that normally if you're high on one, you're maybe low on another. You're going to be, Nottingham Forest might be high on counter-attacking, but not necessarily willing to knock
Right,
it around. But the point
right.
I'm making is that they're able to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife
Do
of
both.
a team. To be
Isn't
able
that
to do
partly
both.
because they're moderating tempo, right? So they're
Right.
passing it deeper, and then I guess I'm kind of interested in this because I think people, when you say something like, "Oh, they have possession," people just assume, well, they're doing patient build-up, forcing the opponent deep into their half. Whereas I guess with Liverpool, a lot of that patient build-up is in the deeper areas where they then have these tempo shifts where they're suddenly able to hit the different depth. I think the depth thing is kind of interesting because a lot of teams do this now where they just have, if you're going to stop them from getting the ball to a certain line of build-up, they'll find it to the next line, right? So you can never just defend the easy thing. It's like we're going to have three different options of how we can cause you problems, and I think Liverpool very good at that, right? To having Mo Salah as an option high up the pitch, or we can build through the middle with players like Gravenberch, or we can use Trent Alexander-Arnold to do Trent Alexander-Arnold things. And it's that sort of flexibility and variability that makes them so hard to defend against.
I would say patient build-up can be a real problem as well. I say that as the manager of an NHS hospital. Now, Mark Carey, let me tell you.
That's actually quite good for you.
Thank you.
Usually when you do those jokes, they're awful, but that was a good one.
I thought that one fell a bit more.
It didn't
flat than
involve
usual.
poo either, which was quite impressive.
Oh, it involved poo. You just didn't see it. There was a lot
Implied poo.
There was always implied poo in there somewhere. I wanted to ask you before we move on from Liverpool, Mark, that Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, these two players that have come up in our conversation already, they're sort of reaching their final contract stages. As in, what I mean by that is the stages of their career. You know, like I don't want to say they're coming to the end of their career because who knows how long these players are going to play on for. But they're old.
But
Right?
I mean,
As
in
a
context for
data
Salah,
analyst.
I just did a thing on Salah. It was actually not very good, but Salah is low key having one of the best Premier League seasons of all time.
Wow.
He's got 34 goal contributions in 23 games. And as I did in the video, for context, in the last 20 years, only 11 players have achieved that
Okay, let's guess.
over an entire 38 game season.
Harry
Who were-
Kane.
who were
23
they?
games in. I can tell you who they were if you want.
Yeah.
Harry Kane.
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, yeah.
Nottingham
Oh,
Forest.
and one of those 11 players was also Mohamed Salah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Brentford.
Wait, no, actually, let's do it. Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo have to be in there, right?
Rooney hasn't done it. So it's 34 or more goal contributions.
Harry Kane.
But Ronaldo's done
Heung-min Son.
Ronaldo has. Kane has.
Has Son?
it. Aguero?
Aguero has, yeah.
What do you think, Mark Carey? Have a guess.
Thierry Henry.
Yes.
Bukayo Saka.
No.
Shearer.
No.
Van-
Well, I didn't go back that far.
Van Persie.
20 years. Van Persie, yes.
Gabby Agbonlahor.
Carlos Tevez.
No.
I was
I'll give you the other
thinking
ones
about
because
Tevez.
it'll take forever otherwise.
Drogba.
Drogba has, yeah. I would never have got this one. Lampard did it as well.
That makes sense.
Pretty good. And then Luis Suarez, who everyone forgets, was also so he's the second highest in the last 20 years behind Erling Haaland.
He burned so bright, didn't he?
Is that the
Suarez was
season
so
where he
good.
had like 19 goal contributions against Norwich?
Yeah,
Something
that's
like
the
that.
thing.
And Alexis Sanchez as well. So, I mean, I do often get things like this wrong, but that's what my data tells me.
No, that's very cool. Well, what I was going to say, I mean, this illustrates more to the point how important Salah is to Liverpool. My question is, even if it's not going to be for 3 years' time or whatever, are you concerned at all about that kind of inevitable rebuild stage when you lose two of not just the best players in the league, but arguably two of the greatest players of all time? You just can't replace them, right? It doesn't matter like how many incredible kids you've got coming through the academy or how much money you've got to spend on other players. You just inevitably cannot replace them. How far off do you think that point is?
It's a good question. I don't really know. What I'd say is that for all that Salah is potentially having the season of his lifetime and many other people's lifetime, is that I'd still argue that Virgil van Dijk is more crucial to Liverpool, certainly this season and in general, because he just
Do you
keeps
really think
their-
that?
Yeah, I think he keeps
It's
their
like, what is it,
floor
34
so
goal
high.
involvements? That's mad.
But you look at what we spoke about it before in terms of the versatility of Liverpool's forward line. I do think that they will still get goals. I think he's got the highest percentage of a team's goals and goal contributions than anyone else in the Premier League. But I still think they'd find ways to. They've still got repeatable ways to get the ball into the box and into the 6-yard box and to score goals. But I think Virgil van Dijk keeps.
You're saying
the floor
Canate and Joe
so
Gomez
high.
are not going to have the same impact?
Yeah, I'd argue that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Jarell Kwanzaa, bless him. But that's not to take away from the fact that Salah is an incredible forward and they both should get contract renewals, etc. But I do think that Virgil van Dijk is the one who should be the one that they focus on most to make sure that they secure it, because not only is he obviously Liverpool's captain, but I do think he keeps the floor super high. And without him, I do think when we saw it, didn't we, in the 2020-21 season, that without him, everything else kind of felt like a house of cards for that exact reason.
Yeah, there's even the high line. I remember they were playing high line apart from the season when Van Dijk was out, and then they immediately just had to drop their line deeper, which changes everything, right? We talked about it in the show last week, actually, that as soon as you're playing like a lower line, you're creating more space to counter press, which means you have to compact it in other ways, and it just the dynamics just change.
Okay, let's have a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about football. Oh, that was a nice break, wasn't it? Hey, did you know that ex-Labour leader Michael Foot's from Plymouth and Tom Daly, Olympic diver and BBC Sports Personality of the Year?
Nancy Astor, also from
Oh, yeah?
Plymouth.
Nancy Astor? Yeah, absolutely. And
Gin.
Florence Given.
Gin is from Plymouth. There's Plymouth Gin.
Gin is from Plymouth.
Florence Given's only 20 years old. I didn't know who Florence Given is. An author and social activist. Florence Given is a British feminist and queer illustrator and social activist, born in Plymouth and now based in London. Oh, based in London now, not Plymouth. Shame, alas. Anyway, let's talk about team/player versatility here, Mark Carey, because you wrote a really fun, interesting piece about this, and contained within it, is a graph, a table a data visualization, which
We're going to gamify it.
if you want to, we're gamifying
God.
everything in today's episode, aren't we? But you already know the answer.
I've got the
presumably.
list in front of me, but we should play this quiz anyway
How-
and pretend that I don't.
Okay, so John, with 19...
Forest, Joe!
Oh.
It's Forest!
What you're saying is that Nottingham Forest are the team who've tweaked their in-game shape the most often. By some distance, we should add, Mark Carey. They're by far the greatest. I really enjoy that Man United are the bottom with one, and they've had 2 different managers.
I know. It's maybe sticking the boot in ever so slightly. And the thing is, I think I said it at the top of the piece, like I'm fully aware, especially to my right, that John's probably going to give me side-eye, that when I was talking about the principle of the piece was looking at player positions and team formations. And I know that broadly speaking, it's quite an archaic term to
Sure.
use that because we have more team shape now. It's so dependent on phases of play, etc. And it's more about a player's role rather than their position and trying not to bucket them into those things. Which is what basically my introduction was. But I was like, but let's play it anyway.
Here's
Let's do
some
it
fun.
because it's fun, and I thought of a way to try and broadly quantify it, and then just
Yeah, man. Well, tell us what you discovered.
Well, Nottingham Forest
Yeah.
do change. Well, I thought that one's interesting in particular because, as you say, they're comfortably ahead.
So this, and just to clarify for the listener, this means that they've changed formations within a game 19 times in the Premier League. So far.
Yeah.
And are they changing between 2 sort of regular formations?
Yeah,
or?
it seems to be quite repeatable. So I sort of went into the weeds of the data and managed to find a flag within, not literally find a flag, but there's a column of which I can flag when a change has happened in
Right.
a team's formation. And we know that Nottingham Forest like to set up in a 4-2-3-1. They change more to a 5-4-1 or sometimes a 3-4-3 when they are often when they're in a winning game state in the final 25 minutes of a game. They'll often bring on Morato, centre back, to shore things up and make it into more of a back 5, having taken off either a midfielder or a forward to just keep things nice and compact. And it seems to be a very repeatable thing that they do, not only in changing to a 5-4-1 most often, but almost to the minute within about 25 minutes to go.
Yeah.
So I think that's really interesting. The thing with the formation thing as well, and I can throw it to you, John, because I know we've spoken about it before in terms of this says about a 4-2-3-1 changing to a 5-4-1. It often talks more about the out of possession formation. Which I
What they're
think is
doing when
super
they're
interesting.
defending.
Yeah, rather than, exactly that. You wouldn't necessarily see them suddenly attack with a 5-4-1. But I think the only exception to that, and I don't know if this is a thing that you guys have noticed when you're looking at your respective apps and you're checking the scores, is that the only exception to that is Manchester City. It says that they often, it will say 3-4-2-1, and it never shows them out of possession. So it's quite I'm just picking apart my whole piece here, but it's an incongruent approach to sort of show formations and actually judge too much from formations because it only shows obviously a small amount of the wider story. But you should all read the piece. It's really interesting.
It's fun, isn't it? Because like if you were to say what a team was playing on the basis of their out possession shape, you'd be like, last season Arsenal were playing a 4-4-2
Right.
diamond, and this season they're playing a 4-1-4-1,
Right.
and we don't really do that. And I've seen people bemoan the fact that City get to put their like in possession shape up for whatever reason. People haven't decided to do that. The other thing that's interesting from this graph actually is that a lot of the teams that have been doing badly this season are showing up quite high in terms of flexibility.
West Ham, Southampton, Tottenham.
Yeah. So, and I think to a degree that's because when you get into those death spirals, you start just making changes.
Well,
Whereas
you would only be at the bottom of the list if everything was working for you and you didn't need to change anything, like
Right.
Man United.
yeah,
There's no need to make any changes.
Look, Man United and Ipswich are at the bottom, but then you've got Bournemouth, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle.
Yeah.
Teams who've relatively speaking been doing quite well. So,
Yeah.
but the only thing I would push back on this is that I always sort of respond a little bit when people assume that what we're operating with here is a spectrum between two things, and one is good and the other is bad, right?
What do you mean?
Well, in the sense that the idea here seems to be like, Forest are changing their shape a lot,
So
right?
that's good.
Right.
versus
When
Man United not
actually,
doing
if
it,
we
that's
talk
bad.
about what they're doing,
Yeah.
it's actually quite simple. They're starting out in one formation, they're going a goal up, and at the end of games, they're bringing on an extra defender. So, they're flexible, but their flexibility is between two different things.
It
right?
sounds quite 90s when you put it that way.
It's very different from what I would talk about with flexibility, which is what Mark was talking about before. It's like shifting between different in possession approaches, and generally that's where flexibility happens. Interestingly, that you say out of possession, it's much easier to come up with formations. But out of possession, simplicity is actually generally a preferable. I'm getting excited. A preferable approach, right? Because when you're out of possession, you want to have that structure. You want to have that almost rigidity. You also want to reduce the amount of flexibility for your players, because you don't want your players to be having to be interpreting things as you go.
Sure.
So generally speaking, like when it comes to out of possession approaches, it's very easy to be like they're playing in a 4-4-2 or a 4-1-4-1 or whatever they're defending out of.
He really is very excited. He's hitting the table and everything.
But yeah, in terms of the in possession side of things as well, I think it's simplicity can be a good thing as well. That we're definitely going through an age in tactical theory where everyone gets excited by dynamism and freedom and fluidity, and the whole idea should be, you don't want your structure to be predictable. You want it to be sort of, people use the word emergent a lot, which is it sounds great, doesn't it? The idea being that your structure should emerge at the point at which you need it to be there. You don't want it to be predictable other than that. And all of these things are good, but there is an extent to which a level of simplicity can be good as well, giving the players the sort of frameworks to operate within in order to make decisions can actually help them as well. And there's how many times have you seen teams that seem like they don't have any structure looking quite poor on the field? So I do think this is a really interesting topic, because I think we are moving towards, we need to be more fluid, we need to be more dynamic, because teams are better and better at defending, so it's easier to do that when you have rigid structures in possession. But at the same time, I think we'll get to a point where people are like, actually, a little bit of simplicity, a little bit of structure actually is quite helpful in possession as well.
Yeah. How many in-game tactical tweaks are Aberdeen making these days, would you say, JJ?
They do a few. They tend to change substitutions about 60 minutes in, and it's usually the same ones as well. They have the guy called Topi Keskinen, who plays either left or right wing, who runs really hard and fast all the time. And so he tends to get taken off, and you put Shaden Morris on the right wing because he's really quick, and then the defenders are tired. And so when a really fast guy who's been like burning you inside out all game long goes off, and then an even faster one comes on,
It's very demoralising.
you don't want that to happen.
You
really
don't want that to happen.
No, and there's probably some others as well, and I'd be able to think of them, but I'm fascinated by this Jack Sparrow, John Ward guy. The story, it's amazing.
That's so funny. I was just about to talk about Captain Scott, but you go ahead.
Well, like, do you know how in the past the language seems so much prettier, more romantic? So there's like, but then it's always like, allegedly someone said about this. So this guy, John Ward, who they meant to have based the story of Jack Sparrow on, or whatever.
John Ward,
described as like an arch pirate.
Huh.
So he's from Kent or whatever. But like, I'm gonna just paraphrase what the Wikipedia thing says about him. So he's got like really hammered in a pub once with loads of shipmates and decided like this, let's bail and then steal the ship. That's really what they did. And then, like, he's described this lovely poetic language, saying things like, "My mates, quoth he, what's he to be done? Here's a scurvy world, and as scurvily as we live in't. We feed here upon the water, on the king's salt beef, without e'er a pence to buy us a bissel," which is a bushel of grain.
Yeah.
That's how you would say that.
Yeah.
But then, like, so that's the things he's meant to have said. But when someone else describes him later on, there's this lovely, beautiful language to like basically say, like, let's bail, and, and we're poor, this sucks. Someone in later years, an English sailor who saw him in Tunis in 1608 allegedly described Ward as very short with little hair and that quite white, bald in front, swarthy face and beard, speaks little and almost always swearing, drunk from morning till night, a fool and an idiot out of his trade. But there's that lovely language, like you've got this, the people who are on the side who are like, oh, he spoke so commandingly. That was good. Anyway,
They were just all drunk. So
yeah, sorry to derail it, but in terms of in-game tactical tweaks, everything these two said was really interesting and correct.
Yeah. Before you do move on, though, I love the notion of a bunch of people sat around. Maybe sometimes they've had just enough to drink where they are inebriated.
I know this game.
where they suddenly think twice about something really obvious, and you go, hang on a second, why aren't we in charge of the Athletic, for example? And then just, storm the building, take over everything, take over everyone, and then be drunk morning to night, be a fool outside of our profession, that sort of thing. Be short and with no hair, like John. We have
He's not short, we're normal size.
We have all the ingredients here to pirate media. You ever see that film, The Boat That Rocked?
Yeah.
It's not a good film, but it's a fantastic soundtrack. You know, that's about pirate radio.
Is it a Richard Curtis movie?
I mean, it might as well be. It could be. It's got.
Film
I
the
thought
vibe
you didn't
of
believe
Richard
that there were
Curtis
bad films.
Let
It's
me
just not
rephrase.
a good
It's a
one.
film that I didn't enjoy
Yeah.
because it's bad. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's got a terrific soundtrack.
It is fun though, like this idea like that whenever we're talking about 300, 400 years ago, I don't know, when was it? Maybe more.
That's
Maybe
it's
more.
like mid 1600s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 500 years ago, that power was just so completely different that you could feasibly just be like, right, we're going
Yeah.
to take this
We'll just
boat
take
and we'll
the
be.
ship.
Surprising also that they had Wikipedia back then.
Sure, yeah, I know, right? You wouldn't have thought.
Useful
because
to have
of,
that documented.
But then
I'm sorry, I
guess-
have derailed this whole thing.
No,
with that,
no, I
but-
think they probably had Starlink on the pirate ships so they could make those wiki
That's how they
updates and
navigated,
stuff, you know. But like, you know, to the point of people just taking over. The French knew, didn't they? We commend the French. Well done, France.
Boris Johnson. Well done, France.
Well done, France. Anyway, there's more. I want to play the Midway game now, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about football.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, we have a winner!
Did Mark get it?
Mark Carey!
Whoa!
Yay! Congratulations!
I can't believe that
Mark
was the
Carey.
answer.
I mean, that's absolutely amazing. You
Too
wouldn't have
easy.
thought that was the answer, would you?
Do you really find that easy?
Easy.
Why?
Amazing. It's been how many weeks, Steve?
Ages.
Lots.
Maybe 20, over 20
Yeah.
weeks.
Do we get to play it again now?
Yeah, we start again.
Who'd have
No,
thought
no. Don't tell them who it is, John.
Okay.
The audience need not know. Okay, all they need to know is that Mark Carey, as a data
Yeah,
scientist,
speaking as a data scientist.
he wouldn't have won it if he wasn't speaking as a data scientist, but because he won the game.
Got the
Congratulations.
spreadsheets out, didn't he?
You can
That's
still
who
call me
got there.
Mark.
Okay, thank you. What an honourable chap. Now, Mark, let's look forward. I don't like to say it. Data scientist Mark Carey, let's look forward to the Champions League playoffs because, of course, this evening, upon day of release, there's a huge, great big game, a feisty game. Manchester City are playing Real Madrid. I mean, I think the first thing to say is that Real Madrid have no defenders, I believe. Let me tell you that our colleague Mario Cortegana wrote, right back, Danny Carvajal and Eder Militao have both suffered serious injuries. Carvajal's out for 14, 15 weeks. Militao is out for, I don't know, a long way to go.
I think Vasquez got injured as well, so that's no right back now.
14
Vasquez
to
is out.
15 weeks is very specific, isn't it?
I know.
Like, could
14
be
and a half.
14 or it could be 7 days later.
That's the kind of detail you get at the Athletic, John.
That's right.
Vasquez is out, as you say, JJ. Rudiger's out. Alaba's out also. So it seems as though there's going to be Tchouameni and young player Real Asensio.
Real Asensio, he's really good.
There you go.
He's meant to be the next Ramos.
So they do have some defenders,
Yeah.
you know. But it's going to be a tricky game. I mean, what do you make of that one? Are you excited to watch it?
I am, yeah. I mean, they're not neither of them are the forces that they once were in the Champions League, only because of the context of everything you just said. Manchester City we know about as well, but to the point that John made before about Virgil van Dijk having an injury, I've somehow managed to bring it back to Liverpool. But the idea that you're putting midfielders as centre backs, it's a completely different skill. And Tchouameni has filled in as best he can, but he gave the penalty away against Atletico Madrid at the weekend as well. He's just not as comfortable as if he were playing in a more of a comfortable defensive midfield role. But I am going to then defer to my data analyst skills as well, because I have a model, a simulated match prediction model.
What?
Which I don't know whether you've seen it on site. It'll give a probability of both teams
Will it?
to win.
That's cool.
Win, draw, or home win, draw, away win.
What does the data say, Mark Carey?
So the data says we're in for a cracker.
Oh,
Manchester City, which is
we're
rare.
back to Pirates again. Huh?
This is this is rare for this model. Actually, it says that Manchester City are going to win 3-2 in the home leg, the first leg this week, which is rare. Normally, it says almost invariably 2-1,
Right.
which makes me think my match prediction model is on the blink. But no, it says 3-2, which probably speaks to the fact to the point you're making is that both teams are quite porous defensively. So we might be in for a goal fest for that reason. It'll just probably open up and just be a bit of a slugfest.
What does your prediction model take into account?
So I won't go into it too much. It uses a model called a Dixon-Coles model to basically look at per shot expected goals to then create an offensive and a defensive rating for each team, weighted by more recent expected goals. So it has a bit of a time decay on it. Then it simulates the game, and it gives a probability of the probability of each of the scoreline, then aggregates that to be what's the most likely outcome, accounting for home field advantage.
It's
as
weird
well.
that those Arsenal fullbacks would come up with a model, isn't it?
I got that, mate. Don't worry.
That's all right.
Who do you think will win?
Well, I just asked. I read that Grok, the AI on X, it predicted the Super Bowl result.
What, the scoreline?
No, we got the result right.
Oh, a 50% chance.
Well,
Well done, Grok. Good,
I mean,
good.
but with
good
odds,
fella.
with results like that, I could not ask it, and it says it'll be 2-2. But I was thinking there'll definitely be it should be open. There should be a lot of goals in there because I don't think either side will be particularly great at defending. But also, like the weaknesses of each other are the ones that the other one can exploit.
Right.
So like Real Madrid can punch through the middle. I mean, Ancelotti's great at these Champions League games. You know, you've got great players. You use them when in the places they can. You get Vinicius running in behind, or whatever, Mbappe running in behind. But they can also run through the middle of them. And players like Valverde are so good at transition. So if you can win the ball where City keep losing it, punch a hole straight through them, that'll be interesting and fun. But then City, if you have someone like Haaland getting advantage of just subtle defensive lapses or errors, or not even errors, just
or midfielders playing in
matches.
defence.
Yeah, but I think Tchouaméni's actually been okay. I don't know. I've not watched enough, but so I don't know if he's struggled enough. I've read that he feels more comfortable now as a defender than a midfielder. So it might be that it's still going to be exactly what Mark said. Like there's subtle differences. But I like how this is really fun. This is like the game everyone would choose on a football video game to play at the moment, isn't it? They're the two best sort of teams, really.
Probably.
To pick on there.
Do you think it's fun that it's coming at the round of 16? Would you prefer that it came at maybe a quarter-final stage?
No, I want to watch the really exciting games all the way through it. So if they won one of these, whoever they play in the next round becomes another exciting game, really, I guess.
That is true. I mean, there are some other exciting games happening. Today we have Brest versus PSG, Sporting versus Dortmund, Juventus versus PSV. That's a pretty exciting one. And then on Wednesday we have Club Bruges, or Club Brugge, as I think I might be supposed to
Brugge,
say.
yeah,
Is it
isn't it?
Brugge?
Yeah.
Okay.
But what would be the best half and half score for those games?
Well, do you know what? For Wednesday, that's going to be quite a fun one. But for the Tuesday games, I think Sporting Dortmund has to be the best half and half scarf.
Pretty good one, yeah.
It doesn't get much better than that.
I think you're right.
Try this for Wednesday, though. Club Brugge versus Atalanta, Celtic versus Bayern, Monaco versus Benfica. That's a pretty tasty half and half. And Feyenoord versus Milan, which is also a pretty tasty half and half.
That one especially set up nicely because Santiago Jimenez has gone from Feyenoord to AC Milan, and if he punishes them,
he did. I forgot that.
Scores against them. That's just #narrative.
And I love the narrative. Which one of those games are you most excited about, Jonathan?
None of them.
Okay, cool. Well, that's the end.
Is that really the end?
Yeah, that's, you want to say anything else?
Points are bad, aren't we?
I mean, yeah.
No, yeah, we're going to do points
Yeah,
about. I
okay.
just mean that's the end of the football chat.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
I was accurate.
I thought you were having a moment.
No,
then.
I was having a moment, but I'm trying to make it seem as though I wasn't, Steve.
Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I spent most of this podcast just reading about a pirate.
All for the better.
I
Now,
learned.
let's play Points Are Bad. That's my best pirate impression.
There'll be points are bad.
Oh, that's so much better.
That's why I'm here to help you.
Now, listen, JJ, you had a pretty good week. Let me tell you, you had a pretty good week.
When I drop character, turns out I know what I'm talking about sometimes, huh?
No, you just got lucky. You won the week. You only added 2 points.
Fantastic.
And that's because you got a perfect score on Aberdeen Dunfermline. You said 3-0. It was 3-0.
Yeah.
Well done. Congratulations. And on the other game, Leyton Orient at Manchester City, you said 0-3.
Should have done the one, yeah.
So you were wrong there.
I did toy between the one and the,
Yeah, you were close. But you added only 2. Seb, who was played last week by Ruben Pinder, had a very good week, only added 3. I added 4, did pretty well. In fact, spiritually, I'd say I was closest on Leyton Orient Manchester City. I said 1-1. Pretty close. Wrong result. Correct spiritually. But I did also say 1-1 on Aberdeen Dunfermline, and it wasn't that. And John, you had a bad week. You came the worst off of everybody here. That's
I went
because
big on City.
you did. You predicted that they would win 5-0.
I figured if it came off, it would be good for me.
I like
Yeah.
I like the bet. It's good.
It didn't.
Yeah.
And therefore it didn't.
It didn't, and it's bad for you. So that means that the current results are... JJ, you are still in last place, despite this victory. 110 points. Seb is on... I think these might be wrong, Steve Hankey.
Yeah.
I feel like Seb went over 100 points quite a while ago, and you have him on 103 here.
Yeah, because he added 3, he was on 100. Hang on.
Okay, maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
Let's say it, and if it's wrong, we'll work it out before next week, right?
Yes.
I checked your individual
I
scores in your
called
fight.
this-
No,
I called the whole point scoring in this game.
I
years
checked
ago.
your individual scores, John. I double checked them, and they were all fine. Seb apparently has 103 points. John, you have 97, so you're reaching the century mark. And me, I have 87 because I am a legend and I'm incredible at this game. And actually, I know more about football than either of these guys do. I just pretend
a
not
bit
to.
dubious. This.
No,
Yeah.
no. But what that does mean is that John, you get
It's
to pick.
conspiracy.
You get to pick the games coming next week. So, can you please give me?
Me?
Yes. What do you mean you? That's why I said your name at the beginning of the sentence. We've been doing this for years. Give me 2 games that you want to predict for, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one I'm going to do is the Isthmian League Premier Division.
The Isthmian League.
Billericay Town
Oh my God.
versus Lewes.
Versus Lewis.
Yeah,
Lewis.
Lewes. Yes,
Are you saying Lewis?
yes.
Okay. Why did you say lose then?
Because I said it wrong. the
Lose.
first
Is it a
time.
little Freudian slip that you think they're going to lose?
Maybe. I don't know. I
Maybe.
don't know anything about the Isthmian League.
No.
In the Premier League, let's do the race to the bottom derby.
Yeah.
Tottenham versus Manchester United.
Oh, okay. Very exciting. When's that, on Sunday?
Yeah.
Sunday at 4:30.
Oh, right. Great. Now, what are you saying then for Billericay versus Lewis, John?
2-1.
2-1 to Billericay?
Yes.
Okay, fine. And Spurs Man United?
0-2.
0-2.
2-0.
2-0. What? To
So-
Spurs?
2-1.
Yeah, 2-0 Tottenham, yeah?
2-1 spot Tottenham.
2-1 Tottenham.
2-1
okay.
Spotnum.
Spotnam.
Okay, good lord. You really changed your mind a few times there.
3-1.
Now, who's next? Okay, it's me next. So what have I got available for Billericay versus Lewis? 1-1, obviously. No, just because I don't know. So what else am I supposed to say? And then for Spurs Man United, it's like,
1-1's
it's
a good
1-1.
one.
Obviously,
Yeah.
it's 1-1 because that's actually going to be 1-1,
Yeah.
and it's going to be really boring as well. For all involved. Now, I believe it's you next, Mark Carey. Billericay versus Lewis. What do
Afraid
you
you
think?
can't have the 1-1s because Joe's taken them.
I am going to, and I've got the table in front of me. Billericay going great guns at the top of the league.
Are they?
Second in the league.
Oh.
Joint top.
Getting great guns at the second league.
Well, their joint top is 60 points.
Okay.
Dartford got a game in hand, so they're doing well. Lewis mid-table. I'm going to go 1-0 to Billericay.
I think that's quite nice. That's very smart from the data scientist himself. Okay, what about the other game, Spurs Man United?
I think you should go with the prediction model.
So
Yeah.
while you were talking, I ran the model. And of course, it said it was going to be 2-1.
2-1.
2-1 to Tottenham is what the prediction is. But I can't go for that. So a similarly high probability would be 2-2. Let's
I
go
like it.
2-2.
He's got a model for his. I just used my brain and got to the same result. What
yeah.
does that tell you?
We should play a whole season against the prediction model and see if we can beat the prediction
I'd
model.
happily send it.
That would be fun, wouldn't it? Yeah, I like
Next
that.
season.
Okay, fine. And JJ, you're last to pick. What do you think? Billericay versus Lewis?
Is 2-1 taken?
It is.
It is taken.
Yeah, 1-1's taken, 2-1's taken, 1-0 is
Then
taken.
I will take 5-0 Billericay Town.
Okay, well, I mean, it could be because they're going great guns at the top and second of the league. And what about Spurs versus Man United?
I don't even think this is a spirit of the game pick.
Okay.
4-3 to Spurs.
Yeah,
Wow.
to be fair.
Going great guns at the bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Aren't they, those two teams.
Yeah, it very well could be.
And that's like a genuine, I'm just going to be a bit risky prediction thing.
I think that's fair. You've got it. You've got the ground you need to make up. So you have to take these sorts of risks from time to time every week. Now, listen, that's all from us today. We'll be back next week with more. Actually, I'm on holiday next week, so I won't be here, but someone else will be. We'll work it out. I haven't told you that yet. Everything's going to be fine. Hope you're having a terrific time. Keep living. Yeah?
I'll allow that one.
Yeah? All right, there we go.
We're not going to thank anyone.
Huh?
We're not going to thank anyone for being here.
I'm going to thank people.
Your guests, your hard-working production team, no?
Nah.